last day of these 10 days. I know how much you all have sacrificed just to make me feel not alone. So, top of my heart, thank you so much. So we begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet today and pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and future. I extend our respect to all our gurus around the globe. Once again, I was told not to say anything about this child, that every time when she come with her sister Prasita to class, every time when they are there, it's like a kacheri for me. They both naturally got the sariram for Natyam, and they just make me, I don't know why they come so sincerely to every class. They are beyond my capabilities to share even my knowledge. Thank you, Prasita and Preeta, for making me every time I say it on the social media that you both are treat to eyes. Even in normal classes, you're so sincere. Preeta's Natyam journey started learning at the age of 3 from the Temple of Fine Arts, Singapore. And then she continued learning with the Temple of Fine Arts, Perth, now known as the Saraswati Mahavidyalaya. Through her learning journey, she has also learned contemporary, Odissi, and Kathak, involved with many dance dramas with the Temple of Fine Arts, Singapore, Malaysia, and Perth. Completed her Arangetam in 2010 under the guidance of Shakti, Anu Sudarshan, and Shankar Kandasamy Anna. I'm sure all our Bharatakalanjali family will know the Odissi that she has choreographed and taught to our other girls and staged it during our 2019 or 2018 concert. I just want to elaborate her Odissi journey as well, which she started in Perth with Manju Radhakrishnan at Saraswati Mahavidyalaya. She spent more time learning Odissi after completing her Bharatanatyam Ranga Pravesham. Performed various Odissi items from Mangala Charan to Pallavi. She's also finished her degree in environmental and mining engineering with honors. Currently, she is the sustainable lead at Fulton Hogan. We met back in, I honestly don't remember the years, more than 6-7 years. Now that Prasita's little Risa comes to me, we both are sharing our knowledge. Actually, when Shankarji came to Melbourne to meet my home away home family, Vidya Kumar and the 3 loving daughters, that's where we met first, and then the journey started. And I need to thank Vidya for introducing me not just to Shankarji, but to this lovely 2 girls that admire me. I admire them every time. Shankarji, since I am making mistakes with my conversation beginning of this festival, trust me, I've been, the mistake I made was a word that I call tolerance of pain, which you made me that day to not to repeat that word again in my life. So I've been slowly, like an Ekalavi, learning one of your Varnam, which I don't want to say it here. It may be wrong the way I'm learning it, but that's my dedication for you. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. Forgive me if I'm wrong. And also to all of you, if I made any errors with my language or any words, forgive me. Over to you, Preeta.
You promised me you're not going to do introductions. Thank you so much, Akka. I will kick start now. Before starting, I'll just go through some housekeeping rules. Ideally, it would be the exit is here, the toilets are there, but given digital life, I would say the following. So if everybody could please put your Zooms on mute with cameras on, please. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. For any questions for Anna, that is, feel free to put it in the chat and we can ask you following. So today, being the 9th day of Navaratri, it gives me the greatest honor, blessings, and happiness to introduce you to one of my beloved dance gurus, Shankar, as we call him. On a personal level, Shankar was not only a teacher to me, but an inspiration to dance, and many, many of us since growing up in my childhood. His teaching, like his dancing, is precise. The depth of his knowledge in dance is immeasurable, pristine, faultless technical execution in every step, every speed, and intensely compressed. Shankar always makes his classes so much fun with his light-heartedness of comedy, a quality that is unique to Shankar. And we always love him for that. I have personally cried so much and laughed so much in equal measure in his classes, but only in his classes. Shankar to me is a walking encyclopedia of Natyam, a technical genius, a dance magician, and above all, a beautiful divine soul who I have had the privilege to be closely associated with through our beloved Gurudev, Swami Shantananda Saraswati, and his Guru, Swami Shivananda Maharaj. Shankar currently is the head of Department of Bharatanatyam at the Temple of Fine Arts, Malaysia. Though he resides in Malaysia, India and his culture is embedded deep inside him. Trained in the multidisciplines of Odissi, Kathak, Western classical ballet, and contemporary dance, Shankar has also learned folk dances of India and Malaysia's Malay and Chinese dances. He holds a master's in dance from the Bharathidasan University and is currently enrolled for a PhD with Tanjore Tamil University. He has been a major choreographer for all of the Temple of Fine Arts productions and has conducted and trained almost 90 over engagements till this date, including mine and my sister's. As a soloist, he has performed extensively in India, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, and major cities in the USA, just to name a few. He is the recipient of the prestigious International Arya Bhatta Award conferred of him in Bangalore, India. He has a strong working knowledge of Tamil and Sanskrit, and his early training in Carnatic violin under the Lalgudi Bani makes him a much sought after resource person in the Bharatanatyam dance circles. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my one and only Shankar.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Hari Om. And I first like to thank Radhika for this lovely opportunity to share a little on this very auspicious day. And to Preeta, all your superlative descriptions of me are overwhelmingly humbling. I hope I live up to them. And I love to start off. Preeta has asked me to start off with a short prayer because today is the auspicious day of Vijayadasami, the 10th day, the victory of the Divine Mother over the demonical forces within us, over the evil forces within us. There is nothing out there to conquer. Everything has to be conquered within us, from our slothfulness to our ego, pride, whatever we have. And then she stands triumphant, leading us to all success. And so we start off with a small prayer to Lord Ganesha, to the Guru, and to Saraswati before I start my talk. Om. 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 Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam kuru me deva sarvakaryeshu sarvada. Om Shrim Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Shrim Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Shrim Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Guru Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Angikam Bhuvanam Yasya Vachikam Sarvavangmayam Aharyam Chandra Taradhi Tam Numas Satvikam Shivam. Om Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. Hari Om everybody, and with that short prayer we start today's session. Actually, Radhika had asked me to speak about Sadhana, Shakti. It actually started off with the idea of endurance, to bear the pain when we dance. So I tried to correct her, and not really correct her, but tried to suggest that instead of saying endurance, which is a painful process, and making dance a kind of a thing that we have to tolerate pain in order to dance, I suggested that we call it the practice, because when you do the practice, then you overcome that sort of hurdles of pain, because the body gets accustomed, or the physical instrument becomes orientated to certain structures of movement, that the fibers, the nerves, the tendons, the muscles, the tissues, they grow and they orientate themselves to cater for your need. The body is such a pliable thing that if you use it in particular ways for extended periods of time, the body actually cooperates with you after a while. But the key factor, and that is the key point of today's talk, sadhana, the key factor is about consistency, because born of consistency is the whole gamut of artistry. The whole world of artistry is possible with the discipline that goes with consistency. So in Sanskrit, for a want of a word, we use the word or the term sadhana. Sadhana means, you can't literally call sadhana practice. Because if you say practice just, for those of you who know Tamil or Telugu or Malayalam or Hindi, or who are familiar with Indian languages, if you hear the word sadhana and you hear the word practice, if you hear the word teacher in English and you hear the word guru in Sanskrit, I'm sure it creates a different feel. Am I right? Do you feel that there's a kind of a different connotation? When you say sadhana, when you say in Tamil, we say payirchi. Payirchi is different from sadhakam or sadhane. Even in that, payirchi is physical exercise, like a routine. I don't know the Malayalam word or the Telugu or Hindi word, but when you say sadhana, it always has the spiritual side of things. There's a kind of a subtle spiritual layer to that word. And when you say guru, it also carries that sort of a feeling, as opposed to a teacher. A teacher could just dispense knowledge or show you a path to learn something. And this comes to the area of art that we are in. Dance and music in the Indian context is not just a sensory, sensual experience. All of Indian dance and music is always sacred. It always carries inside it the music would be the music of the great saints, Tyagaraja, Shyama, Dikshitar. And even in North India, it would carry that flavor behind of the deep practice of spirituality. Though it may not have lyrics, and though the Mughals had ruled, but still Indian music, even across the religions, would carry that beautiful upliftment of the soul to a spiritual source, to a spiritual goal. And same with Natyam. Natyam, we always are dancing about Lord Shiva or Krishna or Devi or Ganesha. So the dance teacher, the dance process, the entire path is not overtly spiritual, yet it is spiritual. I don't know whether you had attended my talk, but some of you may have attended. I was giving a series of talks on Devi for the last 9 days called the Devi Pravachana. And I'll repeat that concept of Saraswati. In Saraswati, we have her holding the beautiful veena in a diagonal, in a diagonal line. And then on her upper right hand, she has a japamala, akshamala. And on her left lower hand, she has a book. Now, one is bookish knowledge, which comes from academia and learning up engineering or architecture or what have you, and then regurgitating it on an exam paper and coming out with a paper again, and then getting a job so that we will sustain our bellies and our home and house and what have you. So the book is given the left hand and the lower position, which is incidentally in line with the belly, with your stomach, because it's ultimately going to fill up your stomach. Whereas the Japamala, which is a repetitive practice, be it of spirituality or be it of music and dance or the arts, where we go sarigama gari sarigari sarigama rigama, again repeat. Teya te, teya te, teya te, repeat. Om Hrim Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Aim Saraswati Namah, Om Aim Saraswati, repeat. Reps. The repetition of which would gain us a particular, will tip us into a point of the intuitive. And that is why it is in the region of the Trikuti, or the space between the eyebrow. The repetition of a Tattadavu would lead you into a realm of dance and music later, where you will intuitively feel the beauty of certain things and kernel out that subtle beauty to people, and you will gain a particular skill. So the two kinds of knowledge, one is from experiential knowledge of practice. If you're a surgeon, you're doing that surgery 100 times in order for you to finally, when you get on to doing the surgery, you've got so many variables happening in the operation theater that you have to be so precise, and you have to do it exactly like a dancer on stage, like a sculptor, a Gopuram sculptor who just takes a chisel and he cannot make a mistake. It has to go straight like this. And all that practice would reveal that perfection on the moment, and it comes through that repeated procedure. And by the repetition of a name of God, like Om Shri Ramaya Namaha, Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, the repetition would tip you into an intuitive state of realization. So that the knowledge that comes from this repetition is called jnana, as opposed to the bookish knowledge which comes from your hand, from the book, which is called vidya. Vittai in Tamil and vidya in Sanskrit, jnanam as intuitive. It comes from experience, anubhava of sadhana. The sadhana would lead to what is known as siddhi. Siddhi is an achievement. By doing the Kirtakritam 100 times, when I go fast like this, it's perfectly false, because it is done 300, 400, 500 repetitions have been done, and then it flows with ease. And that saukhyam, that ashrama, where there is no pain or no tolerance involved, because that is not necessary at that point. Because the saukhyam, that the sadhana should lead to the siddhi, which means an achievement, which in people's eyes will look like, wow, magic. Siddhi also means like a magical thing, but because of the practice, it has become so easy. Like a pianist will go up and down the scales 100 times, and then when she goes at superlative speed, is with ease. There is nothing. It's saukyam. So that sadhana, so the Saraswati's jnanam on the one hand, and vidya. Now the arts, the musical instrument is in a beautiful slant. Sometimes you see Saraswati, of course, horizontal, but in most pictures of Saraswati, we'll find her holding it in a kind of a diagonal. The diagonal also tells us a beautiful thing. This music and dance, it exists in two spaces. One in the sabha, where you play to the gallery, where it is commercial, where it's secular, where you pay a ticket, where you pay fees and you learn it from a teacher. You earn name and fame and glory, and it exists on that one level. And then it also exists in the level of the saints like Tyagaraja. He did not dance, he did not sing for the gallery. He sang to his Rama. Meera, Paga Gungaru Bandh Meera Nachire. That Meera, she danced for her Krishna. She didn't dance for any gallery, or she didn't dance for anyone. She lost herself in the thought of Lord Krishna. She just totally absorbed and saturated her mind in him. And she danced with such abandon. It was only for him. And he was omnipresent in everyone, in every being that she could see. She only saw her Krishna. When the Rana tortured her, when her mother-in-law and sister-in-laws tortured her, she never felt, she just felt it like a fly or something like this. And they told her to get out. So she left and she went to Vrindavan. And then there was calamity in the country, and they came running to her and falling at her feet. She said, don't ask me forgiveness. You never did anything wrong to me. My Krishna, he played through you. He played his game of torturing Meera, and he succeeded in winning over that game through Meera. See, his game, his Leela. Let's sing his name. He's so beautiful. All this is nothing. There's nothing for me to forgive you. It is him. He is the doer of this universe. So there was her music and her dance, totally in the surrender. So we learn dance and music, of course, we learn it on our own little small scale. To some of us learn it purely for exercise. That's also fine. As an aerobics exercise, that's also okay. But there is an intrinsic beauty about Indian classical dance and music, because we carry God's name. We recite Om Aim Saraswati Namaha before we start the class. And then we learn little Ganesha Kautvam on Lord Ganesha. We learn Sri Gananatha in music. We learn Varavina in music. We are singing Saraswati's name. We are singing Lord Rama's name. Without our knowledge, the power of that name will lift us from the material lives in this life through lives to come. That power of God's name will lift us like this in a gradient, and it will take us to the spiritual goal of life. So a musician may start off as a mercenary musician who wants to sing for money, but towards the end of his life, that music would have changed him, transformed him without his knowledge. So imperceptibly, the Divine Mother's name, we may start off to dance because we want to recognition, fame, name to earn. But as we dance on Lord Shiva and Nataraja, and we dance, the intrinsic quality of that name has a transformative quality. It will take us to the purpose of life. So we may start off learning yoga, for instance, to get a yoga butt, because you want to have a nice figure. You may come there purely for the reasons of a physical reason, but the intrinsic quality of yoga, it opens up certain chakras inside us. We would not want to go towards greasy foods, or we've not been like to, our lifestyle would change on its own and in a sure way. And that's the beauty of the Indian culture, be it yoga, music and all. If you have the capacity to be persistent, then these natural transformations, and that is why gracefully she's seated with this gradient of a veena. And if you notice, in usually the Venas will have a yari, like a kind of a mythical dragon figure that faces down. Adhomukha yari. But in Saraswati's Veena and the Mutswami Dikshitar's Veena, the yari will be Uddanda yari. It will be facing upwards. Means this music is meant to lift your soul towards the divine. The dance is meant to lift your soul towards God. So beautiful is that. Natural, the learning of this dance and music would take us there without our knowledge. So that is a beautiful reason why the dance gurus, usually we have two kinds of gurus in Indian culture. We have one guru, which is the Deeksha Gurus. Deeksha Gurus are gurus who give you Deeksha. They give you initiation into God's name. They are divine beings like Yogananda, Ramakrishna, Shivananda, the great sages of India. They come at a certain point in our evolution towards us, knowing our souls are ripe, and they initiate us into the life of divine. And they know a divine life. And they know the workings of our mind. They know the trajectory of our souls through the lives past into the present and into the future. And so patiently, they would guide us spiritually. They may not even sometimes be there physically, but even from the astral plane, they could guide you. Those are Deeksha Gurus. We who teach subjects like arithmetics, geography, sciences, the arts, we fall in the Siksha Gurus. We are teaching subjects. We are not God-realized people, but we are teaching subjects. But dance and music gurus, they fall in a gray area between the total subjects of tennis and swimming and what have you in school. Those subjects, maths and science and language, the dance and music gurus sit in a gray area on the gradient, because we are talking about divine things, but at the same time we are not realized souls. So we are sitting, and so the Veena is in a slant. The artistic gurus are in a midway, because we are still teaching our students about something divine, and at the same time we are teaching them about the physical technique, about the structure of how to do the adavu, how to do the abhinaya hastas, how to sing the swara, how to do the gamaka, how to play the instrument, the fingering on the violin, on the mridangam, and so on and so forth. So it is a physical category. At the same time, it is a spiritual, subtly spiritual category. Subtle, not overt. So like this, the learning is both twinfold. Now, when we practice our dance, the key thing is, I think, the initiation of Radhika to ask me this is the sadhana Shakti. How do we sustain our sadhana, our practice? So when we sign up for a course like ballet, or we sign up for a course like piano, then we have exams, and then I'm talking about the Western disciplines. With Western classical ballet, you cannot learn ballet and you cannot practice ballet in your house, because you require the boards, the floor, you require the shoes, you require the bar, you require all these tools in order to practice. So what happens is, in Western classical disciplines, you have to minimally attend class at least 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times minimum. And towards the exams, they'll be there almost every day. In piano also like that, the command is like this. And also in the Western disciplines, what happens is, this Mahalakshmi and this Mahasaraswati, the two sisters, they are very much united in different ways. I will tell you today. Today we are going to talk about Saraswati and Lakshmi and how they have a beautiful connection. In Western classical ballet, you will have to pay a large fee in order to learn ballet. It's not like Bharatanatyam, our Indian dance form, after all, dance is a hobby. It's like this. So many years she's learning, but since it doesn't seem to be, they're getting far. But ballet, they somehow ballet $500 a week. The mother will be with the cane. You better make sure you learn that Lakshmi, because you are spending that Lakshmi on this art Saraswati, the Lakshmi will force the Saraswati out of you. Indian dance must be free because it's divine after all, no? So it came freely. So why must you charge? All this is divine things, it must be free. But that Lakshmi in the London Board of Exams for piano, for grade 8, you'll be paying almost sometimes up to 1,000 Aussie dollars need be for you to buy. And because you have paid the 1,000, because of the Lakshmi, the Saraswati will be on the top of her toes, ready with all her fingers doing the up and down the scales. And so the proficiency, the siddhi, is like this. See how it is? But such is the possibility with Indian dance. But you have to be very, very self-made. My journey as a dancer has been a very solitary journey. Many days alone in the studio with me, myself, and a tape recorder. I did my basic degree in New Zealand, in Auckland. But I had this bug in me that I needed to dance every day. Even from a child, I had that bug in me. It was like part of my life, I suppose. In retrospect, when I look at it, I think it's my destiny to be that way. Or maybe I brought this bug from a previous life. So when I was in the University of Auckland's hostel, and I had my Walkman, those days it was cassette, So I was thinking, how am I going to go and practice? Where am I going to go and practice? So in the hostel, there were squash courts in the basement. So at 10 o'clock at night, I will stealthily go down the staircase. And then the security guard will say, where are you going? I said, I just need to use I think I left something in the squash courts. Then I'll put my tape recorder very softly and do some adavu, some alaripu like this, and leave it like this. Stealthily, I was doing practice. I mean, I've suffered. It was a struggle. But you see the need to dance every day. That sadhana, sorry, my thoughts are all over the place. I'm just rambling on here and there. But the purpose is to inspire everybody to be able to practice. I always think as a teacher, more than teaching technique to students, if I could ignite in them this flame that would make them want to practice every day, then I have succeeded as a teacher. If I could light that lamp, that fire in them that they need, I can't live without practicing a single day. My life is not the same. And what does that practice do to you? I've had a major knee surgery on my knee. I had an ACL done because some contemporary dance had done some long time ago, and I snapped my ligament. Then I had to reconstruct. So they put 4 screws in my knee, and they took a fiber from my thigh, and then they reconstructed it. And I couldn't dance for 9 months. And then with physio, I just slowly, but before itself, I was very regular with my yoga. So with physio and my yoga, I got back, and it's a very common, surgery that footballers have, and they're jumping back into the football field. We dancers and footballers are the same. We'll get injured, and the next day we'll somehow limp and get back into the football field and still dance again into the studio because of the love for it, which is louder than the body. The love for the dance should be louder than the body, because we are not the body ultimately. And the body actually, as I said at the beginning, it orientates. I always tell my students this example of, in China, you find these acrobats who hang off their jaw, and then they spin like this. And how do they balance off their teeth? Like how do they, and do these marvelous acrobatic things. So it is a question of daily, they start off with 1 second, they try to go, then it increases to 2, and like this, a gradual, every day is the key point. Every day they do a little. Every day they do a little. And the little will orientate the musculature of the jaw, musculofacial structures would slowly, the body will say, oh, this girl is not going to stop. We better get in there and start forming. And they start forming tissue and tendon, and it starts to form and reform. And before a protracted period of 6 months, they're able to hang there for almost a minute. The same is with the Aramandi. Every day, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And the knees will slowly, oh, this Radhika is not going to stop dancing. We better get in there and start doing something about that knee. When my ACL broke, tore, my anterior cruciate ligament, for the initial period, before I did my MRI, I was fanatically doing some yoga for athletes. And what happened was, I had my ligament torn in the year 2000. And only in 2013 did I do the surgery. Because in 2000, I started to do this yoga, and the musculature of my leg, it started to form in 1 month of daily, some structures that help to support the knee. And then when the doctor kind of clinically, he tried to manipulate my leg, he said, your leg looks stable and we don't want to be intrusive with the surgery. We just want you to go on. If there's an issue, we'll address it. So I danced. I danced every day until 2013, 13 years later, then it snapped one day because I tripped and did something funny, and then I had to do the surgery. But what I'm saying is the body, what does that daily practice do to you? It does so many things on so many levels. When you dance every day for 20 minutes, for half an hour, you dance every day for half an hour. You keep it into a realistic time frame. I will do 1 hour. This I can afford. So your body gets used to that, and come what may, you will do it. So tomorrow you're not well, or you cannot go because you cannot dance at all because it's impossible. Then the next day you jump back into it, and your body is still coping with it because your body has built up fibers and structures that help you to sustain. You have to dance under all sorts of mental conditions, physical conditions, the pursuit, the persistence of that practice. That is why it is called, it's very beautiful in Sanskrit, the qualities of a dancer, they call patrasya pranaha, the prana, the life breath of a dancer, the life breath, that practice. The day in, day out, day in, you do a little, but you do it daily. You see a tree growing. You never see how the tree has grown. It's so imperceptible. Every day it moves. Nature moves never in leaps and bounds. Nature always moves minusculely daily. And then lo and behold, one fine day you see this huge tree. Varnam, Tillana, Padam, Javalis, just flowing like that. How did it happen? How did that whole Margam, how did 5 Varnams, for my exam in Kalekaveri, I had to learn 5 Varnams, 8 Tillanas, 12 Jadiswaram, so what big 28 numbers. And I had to memorize all of them, and then suddenly they'll ask you on the spot, can you do this Varnam, can you do that Tillana, can you do this and that, and they'll just pick it up. So the daily doing a little bit, the daily brings so many benefits. And I always advocate that a little bit of yoga to keep the body going. Do a little. I don't do too much, like you asked me Sadhana, Shakti, I was feeling a bit scared to speak about it because I don't dance like for 5 hours or 6 hours a day. I would love to, but my life at the moment, just like I've got commitments to looking after my aged parents. Your words have been as a life breath for us. Yeah. On this auspicious day, we must commit to remove this demon from discipline our minds to allow Sadhana to achieve the gift of Siddhi. Absolutely, Verushka. And I don't do so many hours, though I would love to do so many hours, but I try to do, in this Navaratri, I try to choreograph a piece. I think I posted it on Facebook. I choreographed a piece and I danced every day for 1 hour because that was the only 1 hour I could do. And I was fasting. I was not eating. I was just eating at night. And it was a beautiful feeling to dance with no food in your body. It was like, wow, it's so light. And the amount of energy, sustenance is just amazing. And you do 1 hour every day, and you will find if you have the bug to dance, or you have the talent to dance, or you have learned dancing, or you have a calling to dance, and if you don't dance every day, there is a big hollow in your life. There'll be something in your life that doesn't allow you to you'd be irritable, there'll be other parts of your life, it'll manifest. But if you dance, because that is your soul calling, and the dance is a divine activity, that is why it's sadhana, because you're connecting with something divine, suddenly you are able to take all the stresses and anxieties and everything, because one part of you is strong and satisfied, because you know you're a dancer. You have that in you. And if you don't do that, that is what Lord Krishna says, yes, Arjuna, get up and fight. Your swadharma, your natural calling is to be a warrior. If you don't do that, that's a greatest sin against your soul. So if you have that bug in you to dance, if you have this, even a small talent in us to dance, and if we don't do that every day, there is a great want in us, there is a great vacuum in us, and that vacuum would build as the more you procrastinate the practice. And then it manifests in all sorts of weird things that happen in our lives that are imbalances. So how do we inspire each other to dance? How do we push ourselves to dance? How do we because we don't have the Lakshmi there that we are spending. We should. I think Indian dance teachers should start charging. So then we only get the people who are serious about it, and exams, because these are like exams. We teach with exams because exams are things that not to, because we say hobby and then we just la, and then we just float in there. And then it's so open-ended and nobody is really serious about learning, because it's Indian dance. And I do that every Saturday and I'm very happy about it. But you really don't get anywhere, because you're really not lodging yourself with aims or goals on that pathway. We need to have little milestones that tell us how we're getting there to where we are going. And so for that, we have different skill levels that we have to gain. The whole path, the whole trajectory has to move like this. And so that practice, it has to be integral, and it is divine. And it is my mantra to everybody today is, Radhika told me I should start off with a prayer. Of course, prayers are vital. Without God's grace and Guru's grace, we cannot. But my mantra to you before I wrap up, because it's already 4:44, 4:45. 7 for you guys, it's 7:45. And before I wrap up, I think my mantra to you all and to myself is do a little and do it every day. Do a little and do it every day. And if you can do it every day of your life, you will behold the miracles that happen in a month, in 2 weeks, in a week. You will feel so, number one, you will feel so good because your soul would sing, And the Durga has to, first and foremostly, Durga Puja, as Verushka said, she has to kill the demons of sloth and the demons of laziness. And she has to annihilate those procrastination elements. the beautiful mantra to Saraswati. I was talking about that in one of my talks. If you can get to watch my talks, Navaratri Pravachana, it is on our Temple of Fine Arts. It's on YouTube. If you just type Navaratri Pravachana and my name would appear. I spoke about Saraswati. So the beautiful verse, you might know that. Ya kundendu tushara hara davala ya shubhravastravrita. Ya veena varadanda mantitakara ya shveta padmasana. Ya brahmachyuta shankara prabhudvir. Devai sada vandita samam patu Saraswati Bhagavati Nishesha Jadhyapaha. This long prayer to Saraswati, what does it ask at the end? Oh, Mother Saraswati, remove the laziness, the sloth from me. The idea of not wanting to practice today. I think today I won't practice because I might be tired, because then tomorrow I won't be able to do da 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 da. And your beautiful mind, the lazy body that you have, will tell you different stories and convince you in different evil ways, and you will fall for her sweet talk. So don't. So stand above that and attack that practice day in and day out like your prana. And I think I would like to wrap up there, do a little and do it daily.
Thank you so much, Anna. I feel like this talk is particularly for me because I've been very lazy.
It's particularly for everybody, including me. I fight it every day. I mean, even though I practice every day, it becomes easier once you finished 1 month or 2 months into practice. You must get it into like brushing teeth. You must practice your dance like as if you don't brush teeth, you feel horrible the whole day.
I know.
That kind of a feeling you must have. Then you are in the safe zone. You are a dancer then.
Yeah, it's so true, Anna. Yeah. I can share my experience every time I do dance and I come back, that whole angerness or that mental clearness is so there. So I could totally relate to what you said, Anna. Thank you so much. It's been so inspirational. We do have some questions to go. If you don't mind, we can start the questions. Yeah. We have a question. The first one would be from Sonali. Her question is, sorry, I'm not a very techie person. So does sadhana or repeated practice in other areas like ballet or even Vidya type subjects such as rocket science will lead to a similar sense of spirituality or intuition that we might get from dance?
Yeah, by repeatedly practicing something, we gain a particular tool, we gain a particular skill. That skill, through that skill, it's like language, you learn how to use words, you learn vocabulary, you learn syntax, and you practice writing composition. Then you gain this particular skill, and through that skill, it opens doors of intuitive knowledge. It helps to open up vistas of other forms of knowledge. I think that's what I meant. And yeah, it's in everything. Everything repetitive would lead you to that feeling.
That's so true, Anna. Anna, you talked about how sometimes when you come in and you have a mental block, and then you have to get into class and say do a padam or do a varnam. How do you not say train your mind? Yeah, how do you work your mind to say stop thinking of that, let's get into it? How do you do that? Your thought process on that?
I think it's also, you see, sometimes when we perform also on stage, we carry a lot of baggage of nervousness and all sorts of things. You see, it comes back, Preeta, to the practice of every day. Yeah. So because when you do it day in and day out, after a while, it can become reflex. Your body, if I tell you, get up in the middle of the night, and you're going to do Kalyani Jatiswaram now, and you're half in sleep. And because your body has your muscle memory, which is, for a want of a word, this is the kinesiology, the kinesthetics of your body, which just get up and move. And then it'll just, even if you're half a stupor, subconscious, you move because the body has just vibrating with that dance always. So even whatever mental state you are in, there is one part of you that will be able to just move and emote. Even emoting would be like that because you practice that. So
yeah. We have another question. Anna, when you practice and memorize piece or adava every day, do you feel your mana modharam also improves, and your choreography too.
Manodharma, is it? Is
Yes,
that what
sorry.
you mean?
Yes, that's it.
I have to learn language now, Preeta, as you pronounce your word. Yeah, Manodharma.
And that's
Yeah,
from
Manodharma is how you improvise, right? But improvisational, there is a path of improvisation. Like even in Western contemporary dance, they teach improvisation as a subject, right? So in Indian classical dance also, when you create or you, and I'm actually planning to start this choreography class because lots of people have been asking me, because you need to know traditional structures, you know, because nothing's written down in a book, how you create and how a padam unfolds or how a varnam unfolds or how you improvise a sanchari or so on and so forth. So you need to know through a teacher. The teacher will show you examples, and then as you watch widely different kacheris, you will get a sense. You get a sense of how for instance, even in music, you get a sense of how raga alapana goes or swarakalpana goes. But even that has repeated back and forth with the teacher. Like when you write composition in essay, it goes to your teacher back and forth. They'll correct you. They'll say, maybe the flow is better here. Maybe you should open up with something strong, and then it goes like this. So they tell you a structure, and then it goes back and forth. So even creative process has a kind of a discipline that for a period of time until you gain the skill and have a sense of how the thing flows. Yeah.
Thanks, Anna. Anna, you've always, and this is a question for me, you have always choreographed so beautifully over the past few years. And I find, like, even during the Arangetram time, when you did something, what was your thought process, and how do you know that the audience can understand what you're trying to portray? That makes sense.
I think that, well, it's experiential thing. I mean, it's like you asking how you write something lucid. It's like, you know, like how would you write something that would reach? It's like language. You want to reach out to the last kid in the audience and the last old uncle or auntie in the audience who doesn't know dance, and you want to make, and yet you want to be artistically correct in the aesthetics of Bharatanatyam's language. And within that, how lucid can you be? How much, as an artist, you always want to reach out, you know, you want to communicate such beautiful ideas to people. And the joy that you've had in portraying that Murugan with Valli, or that beautiful Devi with the Mahishasuran, that story you want to tell, and how beautiful that story is, and how aesthetically it is done in beautiful poses and stances, and how clear is that image for a lay audience also to enjoy. You always have that thought in behind your brain. So when you dance, you always, it's communication, right? Abhinaya means to come forth, to come towards, to move towards, to reach out. So that should be the guiding force. Like when you talk, like now I'm giving a talk, I'm looking at everybody here. I'm always looking at everyone's face, whether they are connecting with me or not, whether they are, you know, are they do they look blank, or could they understand what I'm saying? So you have to be, as an artist, you're sensitive to, your sensitivities must sharpen, and you must be very down to earth, because you must be with people. You must know people. You must know how they are, how life is. You know, the organic quality of being, and that feeling of oneness with everyone. And then from that oneness, we feel the freedom to communicate and express.
Yeah. Thank you, Anna. We have another question, and they're coming through fluently. We have a question from Varshka. Namaskaram, Anna. Please tell us what you feel like, and what do you see when you are in that moment of supreme bliss, silence in the moment?
That's exactly it. Silence. Silence in the moment. I suppose when it's something so beautiful, when you dance, you know, you can't express it. So it's just silence. I think the mind gets absorbed in the beauty, and the beauty is the bliss, the love that you have for that. You know, when something is so beautiful, we say, oh, it's breathtaking. I just could die I could die means I cease to exist. There's no more mind. It's so overwhelming that my breath was taken off my life. It was so beautiful. And that is exactly the spiritual state of a samadhi, where they're breathless, the great yogis. I mean, we experience it momentarily, just at something very artistic in theater or in poetry or in music. You go to an auditorium in Chennai and you listen to Bombay Jayashree, and the whole auditorium is in pin drop silence, just like in a trance. The music is so beautiful that you forget yourself, and that is divine. That is Saraswati. That is the breathless state.
So beautifully said, Anna. We have another question from Sadhana, who you spoke about repeatedly practicing. What should we do to get that minuscule improvement every single time? How should we become more self-aware when practicing?
So that's why the teacher is there. The teacher tells you the ideal. The teacher shows you how the ideal should be. So in Sanskrit, we have a beautiful concept of the lakshya and lakshana, what we are and how we are slowly practicing to become that ideal. So if the Natyaramam has to be like that, and it's always flopping. So one consciousness in us is, as we do it every time, we are making our elbow go up. So we are practicing. So that way, then we say, at the beginning on Monday, my elbow was down, but by Sunday, I've managed to consciously pick it up and my elbow is up. And then it becomes prakriti. That practice becomes prakriti, means it becomes your nature. So that is why you're repeatedly doing it, so that you go towards the lakshana. You go towards that. Aramandi has to be this low. I'm standing right now. I'm pushing every day and making sure it is going to be like, my heels have to be up in the kuditadagu, and it's going to be like, so I'm pushing it and I'm practicing so that I'm getting it there. So that is you have a goal. Like when you go to the gym, the guy will tell you have to do this until you get it there. So the reps get you to the siddhi. The siddhi is to get that arm correct, the heel up like that. So this is your goal. So minusculely, you're moving like this, and then you can see before and after like that. That's how you progressively pick up. Like I'm still practicing every day. I do adavus for half an hour. Then once you got it, also you don't stop. You have to go on maintaining it. That is called tayyari riyaz. Tayyari means to tayyar, to always keep. Once you got the Kirtan right, it's not good enough. You have to go on doing it. So that is all. That is why Saraswati is going on practicing her veena. She's still maintaining. Nataraja is still balancing on one leg. He's still practicing. So they themselves are practicing till now.
Anna, we have another question, and it's from Dipti. When a student is about to have his or her Ranga Pravesham, is there any extra sadhana Shakti they need at this time?
Extra sadhana Shakti, yeah. Like maybe if you are practicing 1 hour a day, then it increases, the duration increases. So that also must be gradually. You cannot suddenly, you see, when the problem arises, then it all becomes, as Radhika said, tolerance. When suddenly you don't practice, then you practice. 2 days you don't dance, and suddenly 3-5 days you leave a gap, then suddenly you dance again. Then like this, when you go in fits and starts, your body will say, hello, machan. Hello, bro, I cannot cope with you. You have to deal with yourself, and then the body breaks. Because there is no system. So the body is part of nature, and it goes in a systematic way. When you break that systematic way and you go in fits and starts, then all these injuries, back pain, leg pain, all sorts of pains, then you cope with it, then you cannot cope with it, then you fight it, then you say this Bharatanatyam is a horrible dance, Straight away you'll blame the whole dance form. All my Bharatanatyam friends have got a knee problem and one back problem. How did they approach this Bharatanatyam? Did they go with some yoga parallel to the sorry, Radhika, I didn't mean to say it. I just
please. No.
It's a common
it's so nice
issue
to hear, Anna. Please go ahead.
It's a common issue because people don't do it in a systematic way. So then what happens is we land up in a lot of injuries and fits and starts. Naturally, with the Arangetram, the load will become more, or the practice will become more. But that also has to be, under control. It must be graduated, like gradual increase, and then you are safe. Then you have to go like this.
True.
It's like in the gym, you lift a big weight, then how you cannot suddenly lift, like slowly, you have to build.
Anna, sorry, it's 8 o'clock. Are we all?
Yeah.
Are you happy to answer a few more questions?
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry, just few more questions. We
I
have
have to just make some idlis for my mother afterwards and put one chutney in the grinder. That's all I have to do. And then I have one small puja. I have to run up to TFA after that for Vidyarambam. So no problem. Very fast. Idlis you just put in the steamer. That's
okay.
No problem.
We have a question from Viburi. When practicing for an upcoming group performance, how important is practicing in a group as opposed to practicing just parts on our own? Is both group and individual practice necessary, or all the practices to be done as a group?
To do a group production well, one should be already a good dancer. So the individual practice, it should be part of your system. The prakriti means your prakriti, you're already very perfected, you see. The question obviously arises from people who are not practicing regularly. If you are practicing regularly, then there is no issue about your individual practice, because it's like you've come down the trajectory and you're trained well. And now the group, then your focus in a group is a group dynamics. So when somebody's standing behind me, somebody's standing in front of me, there is the sensibilities of spatial quality in a group, and relay, your turn, my turn, this sort of idea, the idea of canon, the idea of the dynamics of how the group converges, moves out, this sort of patterning. So the group choreography, you see in Western classical ballet, all the dances are already perfect. All the swans would be standing in like machine made. There's no more, because they would have done their ballet class. Everybody would be molded out the end of the factory line down the conveyor belt. Every ballet dancer look the same. All the Natyarambams should look the same with the correct technique practice. I'm using ballet as a good example to model upon. Then the group dynamics happens with the choreographer giving you notes from watching the group move dynamically.
Thank you, Anna. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your time today. We have come to the end of this very blessed and inspirational.
I hope it was good. I hope I had triggered something in your minds. And
it certainly has. I
pray that this Vijayadashmi would be a beautiful time to affirm. You see, it's so beautiful. I just want to share with you. Vijayadashmi means Vidyarambam. Vidyarambam means the beginning of learning. Every day we pray to Saraswati and we start Vidyarambam. Why is it called Vidyarambam? Why Arambam? Why the beginning of learning? Because if you remember the day, if you try to recollect the day that you first joined the dance class, remember as a little child, how with the two little bunnies there, with the two ribbons, that she came there, all bright-eyed and ready to dance. She's just waiting, and all her faculties are wide open because she's just waiting to grasp this dance form. To relive that moment of keenness, of attention, of focus. Remember the thrill that, so we try to relive that moment, because in that moment our focus was so 180%, 200%. And then the eagerness to go home and practice and want to impress the teacher the next week, that sort of thing. So we pray to Saraswati, Divine Mother, give us that enthusiasm again. Give us that fire. Vidyarambam karishyami. Perform that for us. Perform that act of learning. Siddhi. The Siddhi means the achievement of the learning. May you Acharya Siksha Siddhyartham. The teacher and the student, the teacher strives to give you the ideal. The student strives to reach that ideal. And that beautiful marriage of what I am to the ideal, that struggle to go towards that ideal. May that process find a beautiful fulfillment. Divine Mother, Saraswati, please give that to us. Please fire us up with that power. And so that is a beautiful Vidyarambha. That is the significant day that we are in today. The constellations of the moon, the autumnal season, the rishis found this beautiful day in the constellation, in the astrology of Hinduism. This is the beautiful day that the Divine Mother opens her doors and avails herself to those who are keen in learning. She makes herself available. Office hours. She's got her office hours going now. So you bank in on her grace because it's flowing in like a big pravaham, like a huge torrential pravaham of grace. So we hold on to her feet and say, Divine Mother Saraswati, you have to help us. We love your dance that you have given us. You know, you have given us such a beautiful art, and we have to work so hard to fulfill that beauty. And so we pray to her and implore her. And through that prayer and her grace and her mercy, so many beautiful things open up in our bodies, in our mind, in our ability to sustain. These sort of things happen naturally.
So true, Anna. Thank you so much.
That's a spiritual beauty of the day today. Today's auspicious constellation is that.
It is.
So that's why they say we should start something beautiful today. That is why it's Vidyarambha.
I couldn't think of a better topic, honestly, on this. I might be biased, but I believe that, Anna, you're a really true dance gem that never fails to touch heart of every being you come in contact with. And I'm very positive the students of Radhika Anjali Melbourne today have treasured our time with you. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I remain on, don't I?
Yes. Yes, if that's